In a recent video of mine, I started discussing crossovers, and obviously it's a huge, huge topic, so we couldn't talk about it all in one shot. And probably even this video we won't finish. Um, Now, the reason why crossovers happen is usually because there's a strong desire to communicate, to connect, either from one or both sides. Sometimes somebody will come through with a particular message because it's extremely important for the loved one that's left behind to know that information. And sometimes it's just merely a desire to connect and let them know that they still love them, that they're still around, and that they still very much exist, even if they're not in the physical. Now, there's two different ways you can get information about a death or about a person who has passed. One is where they come through personally. They are showing me things. They often like to show me things. Often that thing will mean absolutely nothing to me. And I might even think, why the hell is this person showing me this? And I don't know. But it means something to the person who's come for the reading. It'll always have, they will know exactly what that item is all about, or what that symbol is all about. And they will tell me personal things so that the person knows, okay, I'm talking to my loved one. This is not just, hi, I'm fine, don't worry about me. Anybody can say that. So they will normally give personal information. But if the person is not available to talk to directly, you can often still get information about a situation, how they passed, all sorts of things, reasons, the whole thing. You can get some information indirectly. So almost like on Earth here, if we go to a barbecue or braai or party, and somebody comes over to us and said, look, so-and-so was going to come today, but they couldn't make it, and they told me to tell you this or to whatever. You can get some information quite often secondhand or via somebody else. So that is possible, even if the person can't come through themselves. And I found that crossovers are very therapeutic. They're very healing for the client that's come for a crossover, the one who wants to talk to their loved one. Because unanswered questions, especially, can delay a person and get them stuck in a certain stage of grief. Not understanding why or how something happened. Um, these unanswered questions can really, a person can get stuck. So often those questions are answered during a crossover session. One example, for example, is that I will never forget is a lady from many years ago whose son had drowned. Now, I didn't know this before the reading. I don't like information beforehand. So during the reading, it came out. He came through almost straight away. And this young man said he drowned, and he showed me a very large round pipe, very, very big. And he had been sitting in that pipe, relaxing in that pipe. And he showed me and also made me feel a bit what he was doing at the time that this all happened. And he had been smoking something he shouldn't have been. I think it was a little bit stronger than just weed or marijuana as well. And he then proceeded to pass out, basically. He was unconscious when that water came through. And he drowned and his body was washed out. And his body was discovered. And his mom had not slept properly in nearly 7 years, having recurring nightmares about him drowning, him panicking, him fighting for air. And he said, Mom, please, 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 it did not happen that way. He showed me, and I described them to her, various pieces of jewelry and pins and badges that he'd been wearing on his clothing and on his person at the time that he passed. And she said, yes, I know exactly. Yes, you're right. It was this and that. And she's got them all. He showed me in a shoebox at her house that she looks at every now and then. And he also wanted her to relay a message to his younger brother, who had started dabbling in weed and, smoking dope, especially since the loss of his older brother. He had gone off the rails a bit. And this older brother who had passed had really wanted to get across to this younger brother that he must not follow the same path, that drugs were not the answer for him, and that if he wanted to land up, dying young, that was the best way to go about it. And he was quite adamant that she needed to pass on that message to the younger brother. So that's one example, just one of hundreds that comes to mind. Another one is where a mother came to me and her son hadn't passed away that much longer before the reading. It was only a few weeks, actually, so I was surprised that he came through. And he came through straight away. And he described what happened when he passed. And it gave her a lot of comfort because there were a lot of unanswered questions. He had had an accident at night on a road, but it was a one-car accident. There were no other cars involved. There were no witnesses. And so there were a lot of questions as to what exactly happened here. And he said to her, Mom, it was dark. The roads were wet. It had been raining a lot. And he said, Mom, remember the weekend before I passed, I was installing a new sound system in my car. Fancy new sound system, very powerful, great speakers and all of that. And he said, remember I was doing that. And he said, if my old sound system had been in the car, this would not have happened. He said, because with my old sound system, even in the dark, while I was driving, I didn't have to take my eyes off the road. I knew exactly where all the buttons were to do things. So I could do it without looking. And he said, what happened was it was dark, it was wet, and I looked down for a few seconds I was fiddling with the new sound system. And that distracted me, took my eyes off the road, and I lost control of the car. And because it was dark and wet and whatever, yes, the accident happened and he was killed instantly. And just knowing the reason why this accident had happened helped this lady. He also said to her, Mom, I've been trying to tell you that I am still with you and that I'm around a lot. I've been ringing the doorbell and I know you've been hearing it. And she said, oh my word, we got the intercom guy in, the doorbell guy. He's looked at it and he says there's absolutely nothing wrong with the doorbell. So, and there wasn't. He was actually managing to ring the doorbell to get her attention. And in another video to come, I will discuss various ways in which they can, at times, not always, and depending on their energy levels, they can manipulate the physical to get a message across, or to get across, I'm here, to try and let the person know that they are around. So I can't think of anybody who has, after a crossover session, felt worse. They always feel better after a crossover session. And I think it's just comforting and helps them to move on in a better way. Okay, bye everybody. Have a good day.